Yes, Mr. Maruti, please unmute yourself and ask question.
I can see there's a question in the chat also. What was the reason to migrate from stateless to stateful DHCP-v6? Okay, so with stateless DHCP, what happens is you do not have a track of who has been given what kind of IPv6 addresses. And in an academic setup, or in, for that sake, any university setup or any enterprise setup, what is important is the traceability. So for example, you want to know which IP address is given to it. So we wanted to maintain that state information going forward in the long run at our university, so that one important thing to note is that when you go with IPv6, you are giving public global IPv6 addresses to all your clients inside the network. So in our case, our clients are faculty members or students. So if you would like to know what a specific IPv6 is involved in, any kind of activity that is being done by students or faculty members, you want to maintain the state information about it. You do not want to lose that information, because at any point, if there is a query that, okay, at this point in time, we identified this IPv6 address was doing this activity, we want to know which machine or who was allocated that IPv6 address at that time. What I'm trying to convey in short is that we want the state information to be maintained. Otherwise, it can be a problem in traceability. So that's the reason that we wanted to go with stateful DHCP. Another thing is, stateless was just for our experimental purposes. We just wanted to quickly see, without getting too much into the details of stateful DHCP-v6, because you can go and see my YouTube presentation. You will see that running a stateless DHCP is very easy. So from management point of view, or from the deployment perspective, it's super easy to run a Slack. But point is, you do not have all the information that you might want at a later stage. You will not have logs. You will not know which IPv6 addresses have been leased for how much time and to whom. So we always wanted to go with stateful DHCP. We just started off with Slack to keep it simple in our experimentation phase, and then migrate to stateful DHCP so that we can handle the complexity one at a time. That was the main reason. So I hope that answers question from Mr. Amaryad. Yeah.
This is Maruti from IIT Hyderabad. So, sir, I have one question regarding NAT translation. So, did you disable NAT translation altogether, or you are still doing NAT translation?
No,
because NAT acts as a security layer, in my opinion. Even we switch to IPv6, right?
So that is a very important question. So basically, one of the important questions that we also faced it, NAT kind of naturally gives immunity to your network. It keeps your applications and your clients safer from all the attacks that can happen. And now when you try to avoid NAT and just make your network openly accessible, so any device in your network then becomes openly accessible on the internet, that throws a lot of security challenges, right? So INTK and ISOC have conducted a nice little survey. Maybe I can share that link with you. We want to understand from people who have such kind of concerns. At NITK, we haven't yet reached to the point where we have actually deployed IPv6. As I said, we were just playing around internally in our network with IPv6. We haven't yet gone out of NITK. Okay, so we had to first get that /32 or whatever IPv6 address blocked so that they are routable. What we were playing ahead with were just private IPv6, which cannot be routed on the global internet. We have to only play within the campus network. But now when we have the global IPv6 block allotted to us, now we can actually start going out of NITK, which we haven't done because first we need to migrate our applications. However, in such a case, when you're and another thing is we have gone for dual stack. So our IPv4 will still be going via the NAT itself. It cannot be changed. But what we are also planning to do is that an important step when you try to make your network totally public with IPv6 is how seriously we configure the firewall. So that plays a very important role, and how much controlled access you want to provide to that IPv6. Because for example, even if you see in IRIB, they're very clearly written, any misuse of the resources, because after all, these are national resources. IPv6 is a national resource, which we have leased for some money every year. So we can't misuse it. This specific IPv6 address, which belongs to Government of India, cannot be involved in any kind of illegitimate activity, right? So you will have to have a very tight control on your firewall configuration and do it properly so as your public IPv6 addresses do not get exploited. But as I said, right now in the steps to be followed, first was to play around with IPv6, become familiar, ask for an address, then migrate applications, then think about security. So our next step after application migration will be to go for security considerations. And I can share that survey in case you would like to take a look at that as to what are different things that will come into consideration. So for example, let me give an example. Many a times, many people use DNS for blacklisting the malicious URLs, correct? But now what happens is in DNS, your IPv6 length becomes pretty long, 96 bits extra as compared to IPv4, right? So now scanning that entire DNS blacklist which you have prepared can be a very big task because of matching the IPv6 addresses, right? So many a times the spam blockers were implemented using DNS blacklist, block listing or blacklisting, they call it both. We haven't done that here, but I'm just giving an idea that these kinds of things have to be rethought before we go to actual public network with this IPv6 addresses over there. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any further questions?
Yes, sir. So Jesse from IIT Hyderabad. So this is Jesse from IIT Hyderabad.
Yes.
So I have one question. What is the DNS server are you using for this IPv6 DNS server? Which DNS server are you using? Is it something?
Yeah, so we can use one which we are using right now at NITK is Unbound. We are using Tiny DNS and Unbound currently.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
We have. We were using that same one for our IPv4 part also. We have just enabled the IPv6 configuration into that.
Okay. Fine, sir. Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
Any more questions, please?
I have none in the chat. There are no questions in the chat at least. I checked it again.
Yeah, please.
No questions yet.
Okay. Dear friends, if you want to become part of our working group on IPv6, you are welcome. You can write to us. We will make you members of our working group. I think you have our mail ID and contact number. I will post it in the chat box here.
Yeah, I have also put up the IPv6 webinars link where you can find there are two phases. The second phase is about the second grant that ISOC has received from ISIF Asia. And if you would like to get updates from us about as to what we are doing at ISOC, you can just become a member and you will start getting email updates about our events that we do. And do check out the Connections IPv6 track. There was a very healthy discussions around IPv6, even in Connections that Drew mentioned, which was in the first week of April. So that's it from my side. Thanks to the ISOC Hyderabad for giving us an opportunity to share this experience.
Thank you, Mohit. Now I request Bala Pedigari, our chapter secretary, to propose a vote of thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohan. And it is a pretty exciting talk series by Dhruv and Mohit. Thanks to both of you for wonderfully conducting the overall understanding space of IPv6 and the need and purpose related to the IPv6. The most important thing which I always feel that today is as the billions of devices are growing everlasting, it's very important that every device which need to be connected to the internet need to carry the IP address, and IPv6 is a solution for such kind of a situation what we are getting into, because we are already into the stage of address space exhaustion, and IPv6 is trying to help us to solve that problem. And thank you, Drew, for bringing out a very important and efficient and effective knowledge associated to the state of IPv6 in the current world, and with the kind of bodies which are working towards the same, like IETF, ISOC, and INIC and other things. And thank you, Mohit, for clearly articulating the entire space of IPv6 migration, taking your own experience into the consideration and establishing the context of the NIT Surathkal, and walking us through that entire journey of IPv6 migration, what you guys have done. And the experience story was really very awesome. In fact, it was more clear for many people, I believe, if they wanted to carry out such kind of an exercise. And I believe you are going to bring out the fact, frequently asked questions, which will really help the other people to follow in that path. Thank you, Mohit, for providing us that view and also answering the questions to the audience. And over and above, I thank Mohan Raidu for bringing out this continuous initiative of the Internet Society in conducting this particular webinars, which is making a bigger impact in this part of the region, and also helping people to gain awareness of the Internet Society functions and the importance of the internet in today's context. Thank you, Mohan Garu. And I also thank Adesh for carrying out that introductory part and also setting the context in this entire journey. And thank you, Kanakadurga, for driving the introduction, and all the members of the Internet Society Hyderabad chapter who played a key role. And over and above, all the participants who took their time to join this particular conversation of the IPv6 needs, issues, and the process, so that you have a clear view of the same. Thank you for being part of this initiative. Thank you all. With that closing note, I hand it over to Mohan Raidu for providing the closing remarks and close the talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Bala. It was an excellent program. Because it's a working day, and though many more people have registered, I think because of the working timings, more could not join this, but we will be in touch with them. We have their contacts. We'll share our proceedings with them. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Nice day.